Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the Rasikananda podcast, a daily spiritual podcast for spiritual seekers. Our mission is to share Mahaprabhu's message of divine love with the whole world. Let us begin with a meditation on the sacred syllable Om. We can breathe in together deeply. And as we exhale, we chant Om. And we come to a place of inner calm and meditate upon the self as spirit. And we meditate upon the super soul residing within the heart, and the relationship between the soul and the super soul that we are here to awaken into. So I offer my obeisance to you all and hope you are well. Your day is going wonderfully, or your evening, wherever you may be, however you may be. I'm praying for your auspiciousness, your good health and fortune, and your ultimate welfare. Whether you are young or old, man or woman, father, mother, son, daughter, starting out in your life, in your career, studying in school, we're here together to meditate upon the deeper reality of existence, the nature of the self as spirit, and how we can navigate through the journey of life to come to a place of peace and purpose and fulfillment, to achieve our highest potential as spiritual beings in relationship with the absolute truth. I will be doing a long series of stories for seekers, which will be like companions for us on the journey of life. Stories from the ancient scriptures, the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Puranas, the great epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata. The stories of great personalities and great seekers and teachers. These stories and these personalities will be like companions with us on the road of life that can help guide us on the path of righteousness and on the path to the highest good. So therefore, I request you not to think of this as a chore or an assignment, something you're supposed to do. This is stories for you as a seeker of truth, of love and life. I do not seek to convince or convert you to anything. I'm not here as a preacher, a teacher, a priest, your spiritual master. I'm simply here as myself, walking the path of spiritual life and serving my spiritual masters and their desire for me to share this sacred knowledge with the world. This is a non-sectarian podcast for spiritualists. You may be of any belief tradition or any faith. I do not seek to alter your faith. I seek to encourage you in your path. If you are looking for a spiritual home, my service is in the service of my spiritual family. That family is very broad and very wide, and ultimately, that family is the whole world. As the Vedas teach, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. All beings are within the family of God. Amritasya Putra. All beings are the children of that immortal nectar of divine being. Therefore, true non-sectarianism means to embrace all without binding any. To embrace all from the heart, recognizing everyone as brothers and sisters, fellow children of God, and to understand that each and every one of us has our own individual path to grace that we all walk upon. Some may walk on the same path, but at their own speed. Some may walk on one of the many paths. Ultimately, we meditate upon the absolute truth, the supreme personalities of Godhead, Shri Radha and Shri Krishna, the divine feminine and divine masculine in the highest aspect as the sweet divine couple in the beautiful land of Vrindavan. This is described by all the Vedic literature, all the essential teachings, hidden teachings of the Vedas, as the true home, the true shelter of all beings. But many will follow various paths according to their nature and desire, and therefore we honor all, we offer obeisance to all, and we try to see the good in others, and to never judge or criticize another, but rather to reflect upon our own life and our own effort to progress in life, to see every situation, every environment as favorable for our spiritual life. If we ourselves are in that internal space where we can feel and sense the divine present within us and within our heart. So, in this second episode, I'm continuing from where we left off in the first episode, discussing how the kingdom of God is in the heart, and how can we access and enter within that space where we can perceive and interact with that spiritual presence within us. For this, two practices are essential. Two activities are most valuable. First is to chant these divine names, Shri Krishna and his beloved Shri Radha, in this mantra, which is the great deliverer from all bondage of the attachment of the mind, which frees us and awakens our relationship with the Absolute, the Eternal Beloved. That mantra is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This mantra is a sacred chant that transcends time and space, that touches the heart and soul, and awakens us into true self-realization. Along with this chanting of the mantra, the association of saintly devotees is extremely valuable, an essential element of our spiritual process. By the association of devotees, taste for the chanting awakens, association of the devotees has the power to grant divine love, to help us enter within the experience of that ecstatic love. They are the energy powerhouses of that divine love. Therefore, saintly association is described to be the single most beneficial spiritual practice bar none. So I was very fortunate in my life to meet my guru at 9 years of age, to receive initiation from him, to travel to India, perform pilgrimage in the holy land of Vrindavan for 1 month, and to return there every year with my father until I lived there for 6 months in my guru's monastery after graduation, and then for 16 years until I was sent back to America to start our spiritual mission here. We established our 60-acre ashram, which we are developing to create a spiritual university for studies, how to realize the self in relationship with the Absolute and the Supersoul. And now I am traveling with my monk students to different places where our spiritual families and communities are requesting my presence to help develop a deeper connection to spiritual life. I spoke yesterday about the importance of engaging one's body and senses in activities that help us come to the internal space of deeply rooted spirituality. Many practitioners of various religions and spiritual faiths focus on external activities and rituals without balancing that with the need of the actual mystical experience of awakening our true self-consciousness in relation with the divine spirit or consciousness. That is a process of meditation. The process of meditation is something that is naturally evolving when we serve with our body, mind, and senses in association of saintly souls according to their direction. So when I first lived in the monastery, I spoke about my good fortune to assist in the kitchen, cooking, as well as making flower garlands for our beloved Shri Radha, Krishna, and Mahaprabhu. And today, in brief, I'll tell a few stories about the importance of hearing from the sadhus. Sadhu means someone who is deeply engaged in loving worship or loving engagement. This is very important. Sadhu is someone who is connected to that which is true, Sat. Sadhu is connected to the truth. They are serving the truth. And therefore to come in touch with the sadhu means to come in touch with the truth. That is the meaning of sad. So therefore, in the association of the sadhu, the best activity is to sit and hear, because the process of hearing is the most subtle element, the sound, vibration, transported through the ether, from the lotus lips of the saintly personality into the ear, and through the ear it can come into the heart, and then it can remove all obstacles in the heart to the progress of the soul, to the awakening of the self-identity, true realization of the self in relationship with the absolute truth. Therefore, in association of the sadhus, we are recommended to hear. This process of hearing is the most powerful method of awakening the self. In the Bhagavad Puran, our most holy of scriptures, it is described, Shrindvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana ridyanta sto hyapadrani vidunoti suhritsatam nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavata utamasloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. The kingdom of God is in the heart. God is not bound simply within the temple or the home or an ecclesiastical order. God is in the temple, God is in the home, but God is in the heart. How can you realize that so that wherever you go, that is a temple? Wherever you walk is a spiritual space. Therefore, you have to cleanse the heart of all distractions, of all impurities. What is an impurity? Our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his 8 essential teachings, the first 3 words are cleansing the mirror of the heart. Cheto dharpana marjanam. The process of cleansing the mirror of the heart is by hearing, by chanting, and by serving sadhus. So when we're in the association of sadhus or saintly devotees, the most important activity is to hear from them and to serve them. Because the proximity to the sadhu, the process of hearing and the process of serving cleanses the mirror of the heart so that you can truly meditate upon God in purified consciousness as the true self. Every day, therefore, in the morning and the evening, we hear, this is the life of a monk. And those who live in the temple and those who live in the world also cherish the process of hearing as the most sacred feature of their spiritual lives, as the first and foremost element of their spiritual practice, shravanam, to hear. Kirtanam, then to chant. Smaranam, and to remember or to meditate. This hearing process leads to the taste and chanting, which awakens the self-knowledge and the knowledge of God and your relationship, and the process of meditation in that land of the heart, which can become non-different from Vrindavan, the land of Krishna, can then be manifested there. Therefore, to hear and to sing or to glorify or to chant and to meditate upon the Lord in your heart, these 3 elements of spiritual life are described to be the perfect, pure bhakti, by their very nature, perfect. So in our daily life in the temple, this was our activity. Morning time, after our arati, we would sit and perform bhajans, Sanskrit chants and prayers, and then we would hear from the sadhu about the glories, the activities, the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of Supreme Beloved Sri Krishna. The first year I stayed, for 6 months, after the month of Kartik, which is in the fall, October, November, every day we would go on pilgrimage around Giriraj Govardhan. Giriraj is the mystical mountain that Lord Krishna lifted upon his left pinky to shelter his associates, his family, the Brijabasis, for 7 days from the attacks of Indradev, the king of heaven, and his torrential downpours. And Giriraj is present to this day and is the holiest of sites within the Gaudiya Vaishnava faith and within many faiths. It's the most visited by numbers sacred place in the world, because every day thousands and sometimes tens and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands will perform pilgrimage, circumambulation of this sacred hill. At the head of this sacred hill is Sri Radha Kund and Sri Shama Kund, which is described to be the liquid form of Sri Radha and Krishna in this world, the melted form of their divine love. And by bathing in these waters with a pure heart and sincere prayer, a realization or manifestation of the divine couple Sri Radha and Krishna will appear in your heart. So every day we would perform pilgrimage. In the morning we would have our Mangala Arati. Mangala means auspicious, and Arati means our offering of lamps, incense, flowers, conch, which represents all the elements and all the senses as an offering of divine love to our beloveds, Sri Radha and Sri Krishna. This is usually done at about 4:30 in the morning. Before this, at about 3 in the morning, we would all wake and sit and recite Sanskrit prayers for 45 minutes or an hour. Then we would have our morning arati, and by morning I mean at 4:30 a.m. And afterwards, while it was still misty, the mist of the mystery of spiritual discovery, leading to the dawn of true spiritual realization, we would go out. At that time, there were about 100 of us living in Govardhan. And every morning we would do pilgrimage barefoot. While doing this pilgrimage, there was no chitter-chatter, no gossip, there were no phones, there was no internet. That's why I tell my monks, if you want to be serious about your spiritual life, give me your phone. Give me your computer, or use these things only to serve sacred sound. We would go and follow the sadhu. And every day we would stop at a different pond, bathe there, and sit on the banks of that sacred place and hear about Krishna. It's the most magical experience. Each of these ponds around Giriraj Govardhan are the place of a very beautiful pastime of Radha Krishna and their associates. And every day we would hear this. And we would perform a vow known as Katyayani Brata, which is a prayer and a practice that helps us realize our relationship with Radha Krishna as our supreme beloveds, not only, but as our maintainers, our guardians, our shelter, and their abode as our home. So every day we would hear Harikatha. Sometimes we would sit, I remember, at the foot of Giriraj. It's a very beautiful place called Apsara Kund and Naval Kishore Kund. And in due course, we'll hear about the beautiful stories in these places. As I said, I'm welcoming you on this journey, and I hope that these stories for you as a seeker will be like your companion on the journey of life. I hope that do not listen as a regulative practice out of a sense of responsibility or obligation. Whatever questions you may have, please write them in the comments. My team will respond, and we'll do our best to address these questions in the future episodes. But it's especially recommended to add in your spiritual life a daily diet of hearing, half an hour or 1 hour, that can make your entire day spiritualized. So that is the purpose. That is what I've been doing my whole life. And it is my service now to also perform kirtan, or to speak about those things that I have heard and that I have meditated upon, that I have come to some realization of. Every day I would hear, and all together we had a beautiful team. One thing about our life in the monastery, it was like a magical school where people from all parts of the world could come and live. To this day, we have such a school in Vrindavan. During the COVID pandemic, in the heart of it, we had over 200 Westerners living there from all different countries. Serious spiritual seekers and practitioners and sevaks. Sevak means someone who's there to serve. So I was very lucky to come into the monastery and have quite a large family of fellow monks and seekers and brothers. So every day we would go on parikrama or pilgrimage around Giriraj Govardhan for 1 month. Many years later, my guardian teacher, he did the same parikrama for 11 months without 1 day break. He would leave every day from Mathura at 2 a.m, going to rest at sometimes 11 p.m. We'd get up at 2 a.m. and go by car, half an hour away to Giriraj, do parikrama, offer abhishek, which is a combination of milk, ghee, yogurt, sugar, honey, and sacred holy water, purified, and bathe Giriraj, and offer sweets and a garland to Giriraj, and pray for one thing only. Let our Guruji, our Guru Maharaj, be healthy, live a long life. This is the same prayer that Krishna's family members, the Brijabasis, prayed. They prayed to, O Giriraj, please may Krishna be healthy, live long. This is the mood of love of a devotee. How can we control the absolute and think that we can make the absolute or the Guru or God live long? But this is our prayer, God is everywhere, but He is especially where He is wanted and loved. Guru is everywhere, but He is especially where He is wanted and loved. So that was our prayer. This was near the time when our Sri Guru performed his preparation to leave this mortal world to go to Krishna. This is another story for another time. After I stayed for 6 months, I came back to America and I explained how I would meditate upon the services that I was able to perform and pray to go back there. So I want to mention one other experience that is also showing the importance of serving the sadhu, not simply hearing from the sadhu. Hearing from the sadhu without dedication and service to the sadhu does not fully enable you to realize and experience the wealth of the heart of the sadhu and what they want to give. Service is a way to open the doors to receive that treasure within your heart. However, service is also not so easily achieved. To even meet a sadhu is very rare. It is described that to meet with a pure sadhu is even more valuable than to meet with God directly, and more rare and special. Why? Because the sadhu is the person who can bridge the gap between our present condition in material existence to the realization of our relationship with Sri Krishna. So there's a very beautiful song, one of our prayers every day in the temple life. We meditate upon and pray to Sri Guru and then to the Vaishnavas or the sadhus. Nirapeksha, the sadhu is without any material want or attachment or desire. They are simply here to share and help the living beings develop love of God. To serve the sadhus can be achieved by great fortune, but continuous service of the sadhus is by surrender. A momentary association with the sadhu can grant all perfection and lead one on the path to all perfection, but continuous association with the sadhu and service to the sadhu, that can truly give all spiritual power. By that service to the sadhu, the power to see God within your heart and to serve God within your heart, to realize that kingdom of God is in the heart, that is possible. So I remember one time, this might have been the second time, because I went back and forth to America twice for visas. I stayed for 6 months. I had gone every year since I was 9 for the 1-month pilgrimage. And then my guru had always told me he wanted me to live in the monastery, be a monk, get trained up to serve his mission. And so after I graduated, he sent me there. And I stayed for 6 months, and then I came back for 2 months and got a new visa and went back. And I stayed again for a year and a half. And then I went back for, I think, 2-3 weeks. And when I was back in America for 2-3 weeks, I was praying again for the chance to be there, to get a long-term visa. Why? In the beginning, you go, you come, you go, you come, right? You come closer, you go farther. You come closer, you go, you come. But I was praying to be able to stay. That was my guru's desire. So I tried to arrange a 5-year student visa, but I only got a 1 year. And one thing my teacher told me, which I always remember, is when I was trying to get this visa, he said 2 things. One was to really gain the most benefit, you should stay for a long time, at least 5 years, continuously. And the other thing he said is, the senses are mundane. Don't trust them. Engage them in service. This is valuable. The relationship you establish through service can never be lost. The smallest activity of loving engagement and service gives an imperishable result. Akshay Phal. Therefore, the best method of spiritual development and advancement is to engage your body and senses in service. This will lead to the state of being able to serve within and without, so that wherever you are, you help others and you create a spiritual atmosphere. So I remember when I came back and I had that 1-year visa, something very special about the sadhus is wherever there is a pure sadhu, their heart is that place where Radha Krishna's pastimes are always going on. In general, in the soul, the super soul is present. But for a pure devotee or a pure lover of God, that super soul is also witnessing, because the super soul is the witness. He is witnessing along with the realized soul the beautiful pastimes of Radha Krishna and serving therein. That is the kingdom of God in the heart. Our Gurudev established his heart in this beautiful painting known as Sri Seva Kunj, the grove of loving service to the divine couple Sri Radha Krishna. And he said, "This is my heart." He once asked his very dear follower, Srimati Shamarani Mataji, "Can you paint my heart?" What do you say to that? If you want me to. Meaning, as I said yesterday, the power to paint the heart of a pure devotee is not in our hands. The power is in their hands. Therefore, if they want, then they can give the power. So my Gurudev described the scene of his heart for many months and gave very specific instructions about every little detail. And so that heart of Sri Guru manifests in the heart of his pure disciples. So I remember when I came back from America, when you're in the West, it's natural that the environment that you are in, to some degree, will affect you. Therefore, spiritual association is so powerful and so important. So I remember when I'd come back from the West, the Vaishnavas, you would go and offer obeisance or touch their feet, and they would say, "Oh, go change your clothes. These are Western clothes. They have the smell of the West." Everywhere is a spiritual place. The West can also be very spiritual. But the Dham means, like now, we're not in the West, we're in a temple. Right? And in our New York ashram, this is not the West, it's a branch office of Vrindavan. But when you're at home and your mind is full of ideas and desires, and you eat food that is also not in the highest resonance or frequency of love, then this can lead you again to a more lower grade of consciousness. Even though you're trying to struggle up, think of Krishna. This is natural. I was praying, when will I be back in Vrindavan? When will I be back in Vrindavan? And I remember first night back, first day, being able to serve Guru and Vaishnavas simply by the service to the sadhus is only by their mercy, not that they need our service, but service to the sadhus gives us a chance to catch hold of their feet so that we can come close to where they are. Because we can only see material reality. We see the material figures of everyone. But what is the spiritual reality? Spirit beyond matter. So by the mercy of the sadhus, I was able to touch their lotus feet. For a few minutes, massage their lotus feet. And I remember, simply by catching hold of the lotus feet, it was like an electric current. For a moment, for a brief second, it's like you can see Vrindavan. Why? Vrindavan is in the heart of the sadhus. That is what is going on in their heart. Especially when they're engaged, there's 3 kinds of states of consciousness for the sadhu. There's external awareness, fully internal awareness, and half internal, half external. But generally, when I know the Vaishnavas, the sadhu, they say the favorite time of day for them is when they're sleeping or resting, because there's no material disturbance. In daytime, so many people have so many questions and so many problems. My Gurudev would say, everyone's coming to me with their material problems. No one's seeking spiritual solutions. They're not asking me how I can realize my relationship with Radha Krishna. Instead, they're saying, this person said this to me, this person did this to me, I was kicked out of that place, and this person said this. I said, Gurudev said on a morning walk, I am trying to take you there, and you are dragging me down here. He is there. When they are on their morning walk, they're meditating on Radha Krishna. When they are sitting and speaking, they are meditating on Radha Krishna. When they are chanting, they are meditating on Radha Krishna. When they are eating, they are meditating on Radha Krishna. When they're doing anything, they're in their presence in the service of Radha Krishna. So especially at that's why sadhus like to be in an environment where there's no disturbance, so that they can simply meditate upon Krishna and serve him. That is the power of serving the sadhu. So therefore, nothing is by our own strength and power. We are weak. I am weak. But the power of the sadhus is very great. Therefore, there's a very beautiful bhajan that we sing, that the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas is the greatest wealth in the world. This wealth has the power to awaken divine love. Avanira Susampada, there's nothing that compares to this wealth of the service of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. Srila Narottam, a great saint, said, Ashraya loya bhaje, tare Krishna nahi tyaje. Those who serve the sadhus under their guidance can never be forsaken by the Lord, Sri Krishna. He accepts them as his own, because the sadhus are his heart. And he is in the heart of the sadhus. Krishna says, I myself rest within their hearts. Therefore, the greatest fortune in life is to meet a sadhu, to have the association of a sadhu. Sadhu is not confined to a caste, an order, a gender. Sadhu is sadhu. Sadhu is the soul that is awakening in their love of God, or that is situated in their relationship with God. Wherever they walk, that place is holy. So we were so fortunate, I'm here with my spiritual family, to meet sadhus in our life, our beloved Gurudev, great Vaishnavas, our Swami Prabhupada, pure lovers, pure devotees, lovers of God. So this is our meditation. How can we serve the sadhus? How can we hear from the sadhus? How can we reside with the sadhus? This is our meditation. So tonight, in our next episode, I'll speak more specifically about Krishna Katha and how I was so fortunate, not by my own strength or my own qualification, but I was very fortunate to serve Harikatha since I lived in the Mat since 2007. I had learned Hindi. I began translating my Guru's lectures from Hindi to English. and I began serving in his publications. And since that time, I've been serving Harikatha. I transcribed probably 5,000 lectures. Every day I would transcribe 2 lectures. And now with our team, before I came back to America, we had published 25 books. One of these books took 5 years of daily effort about the life and teachings and the beauty of our Srila Gurudev. And then many other beautiful literatures that were translated, that were transcribed and composed. And now since we came back to New York with our team of monks, we've published 45 books, 45 volumes of our Sri Guru's Harikatha. And at present, we're publishing 1 book a month of this Harikatha, which is the most precious wealth in the life of a disciple and a spiritual practitioner. So we'll talk about this more tonight. Hare Krishna.